Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's math lesson. This is Miss Minton. Let's get started. First, let's read our math objective. It says, I can use small, same-sized units to measure the length of a longer object. So today, we're going to use small items to measure a bigger item. Before we do that, let's warm up with some quick mental math. I'm going to flash a problem on the screen. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about your answer, and then I will give you the answer. Let's begin. Here's your first problem. 10 plus 46. Check your answer. Here is the next problem. 32 minus 10. Check your answer. 76 plus 10. Check your answer. 54 plus 10. Check your answer. 10 plus 26. Check your answer. And lastly, 82 minus 10. Check your answer. Nice job. Let's continue. Next, we're going to do a word problem together. Our problem says, Princess has 22 cat treats. Mittens has 10 cat treats. How many cat treats do they have all together? First, to solve this problem, we need to circle our numbers. I'm going to circle the number 22, and I'm going to circle the number 10. Next, we need to underline our question and decide if we are going to add or subtract. Our question says, how many cat treats do they have all together? I know that if my question is asking how many all together, then it is an addition question. So the equation that I'm going to use to solve this problem is 22 plus 10. To figure out 22 plus 10, I'm going to draw some models, some tens and ones. First, I'm going to draw two tens and two ones to represent 22. Next, I'm going to draw one 10 to represent 10. Now I can go back and count them to get my answer. I'm going to count all the tens first, and then I'm going to count on by ones. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32. So my answer is 32. They have 32 cat treats. Okay, so as we said earlier, we're going to be measuring objects using smaller items today. Before we hop into our visual learning bridge, I wanted to show you this anchor chart with some measurement reminders. One, use one unit the whole time. So if you're measuring your notebook, you don't want to use paper clips and crayons because they are not the same size. You want to use the same size unit the whole time. Number two, you want to keep your items or your ruler straight. You want to keep them lined up in a nice straight line. And lastly, you don't want to have any gaps or overlaps. You want them to line up right next to each other. If they overlap, then you won't get an accurate answer. Let's take a look at today's visual learning bridge. Take a second to think. Is it closer to the 1 inch or the 2 inch mark? Great job. It is closer to the 1 inch mark.
All right, let's hop into the we do portion of our lesson. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using these tools to measure this notebook. First, I'm going to measure the width of the notebook using cubes. When I use cubes to measure an object, I want to make sure I put them together so there are no gaps and no overlaps. So, I'm going to put some of them together. And I'm going to see if I have enough. I'm going to look, this side lines up, but there's still some space for some more cubes here. So I'm going to keep adding cubes. All right. So now my cubes line up from this side to this side. I can go back and count how many cubes I used to find out how many cubes wide this notebook is. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The notebook is 11 cubes wide. Let's do another tool. The next tool I'm going to use are some paper clips. I'm going to take the paper clips and line them up underneath my notebook. I have to be careful with this tool. It's easy to have gaps and overlaps. You want to be careful that your measurements don't look like this. Take a look. It looks like it could be 4 paper clips wide, but there's a space here. So I need to move this paper clip so that it's touching the other paper clip and add another one to the end. It doesn't line up perfectly. So this is going to be a rounded measurement. It's going to be about this many paper clips wide. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This notebook is about 5 paper clips wide. Let's move on to our next tool that you might have in your house. The next tool I'm going to use are some Q-tips. I'm going to line them up carefully. Take a look at how I lined my Q-tips up. There's a gap here and an overlap. So this is not measured correctly. So to measure it correctly and get an accurate measurement, I need to move this Q-tip here so that they are touching. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. This notebook is about 3 Q-tips wide. Let's move on to our next tool. Another thing you might have in your house. I'm going to use markers to measure the length of this notebook. I'm going to line them up with the bottom and then stack them. When I go back and count them, there are 1, 2 markers. So this notebook is about 2 markers long. Your assignment for today is to find an object in your house that you can measure using a tool of your choice. You might use something like Q-tips, markers, you might use some crayons, you might use some Q-tips, anything, or some toothpicks. Anything that you have in your house that you can use to measure an item. You can measure a notebook, a piece of paper, you can measure your tablet, You can measure your table. When you are done, take a picture of your measurement and send it to your teacher by uploading it to Canvas or by texting it to them.